Next on the news, the floodwaters have long since receded, but the bills, well, they're still sky high.
This church isn't undergoing a renovation. It's undergoing a repair. I'm Jessica Easthope with the shocking six-figure bill St. Mary's WINFIELD had to pay in order to get back up and running after Tropical Storm Ida.
Arsons, assaults, the Holy Eucharist stolen. A brand new report on hate crimes against Christians around the world. The numbers are jaw-dropping. The U.S. bishops meet in Baltimore, day 3. The teaching document on the Eucharist still in the spotlight. They cast their votes after deliberation and debate. Plus, after more than 4 years in captivity, held hostage by jihadists, Sister Gloria Cecilia is finally back home. I'm Christine Persichetti. Currents News starts right now. St. Mary's WINFIELD had only just opened its lower chapel a few months before Tropical Storm Ida completely flooded it out. Now, after all the bailing, the cleanup and repair, there's still plenty left to do and bills to be paid. Currents News' Jessica Easthope brings us an update from Woodside.
Always forward, never back. That's the slogan St. Mary's WINFIELD adopted at the beginning of the pandemic to help parishioners pull through. But in recent months, it's taken on a new meaning.
And we're going to try to re-engage with parishioners, get people who aren't back yet, and reach out to the youth more and do things like that. And then September 1st came, and it was a nightmare.
The lower church is now completely flooded.
This was the lower church at St. Mary's during Tropical Storm Ida. The water surged into the building, reaching more than 10 feet.
The space that we need was destroyed. It was traumatic because if I'd been there 15 minutes later, I probably wouldn't be talking to you right now.
Since then, St. Mary's, like many of its parishioners in Woodside, has had to pick up the pieces and really drill down into starting over. Where there were walls, now just wooden frames. The electrical system was ruined, and the floor is all that's left of the church's brand new Adoration Chapel.
See the wire mesh.
Pastor Father Christopher O'Connor says the church has shelled out $264,000 in repairs. Parishioners have donated more than $100,000 to help, and on Wednesday the church received an insurance check for $250,000. Father O'Connor estimates repairs will reach $1 million.
People have been extremely supportive. They love their church, and they want to see their church taken care of.
And even as bad as the damage is, Father O'Connor knows the church is better off than some parishioners. He's offered help to those affected and is leaving the rest up to God.
It's all in his hands anyway. I was going to let COVID define us, and I'm not going to let the flood define us either. We're going to come out as better and stronger.
Father O'Connor is reminding himself and his parishioners, always forward, never back. In Woodside, Jessica Easthope, Currents News.
If you would like to help St. Mary's WINFIELD rebuild, you can text Ida Flood to 308-300-4848 or go to the website stmarysofwinfield.com and click the link. It was decision day for the bishops in Baltimore, the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops, voting on the big topics discussed during the fall meeting. The big vote everyone was watching for, the document on the Eucharist. The document passing with 222 votes. The paper is meant to be a teaching document designed to reinforce Catholic teaching about the real presence of Jesus in Holy Communion. The bishops also voting to speed up their anticipated review of the Charter of the Protection of Children and Young People. Before the vote, the bishops were set up to review the charter in 2025, but now they'll start their review in 2022. When the discussion over the vote began, Bishop of Brooklyn, Nicholas DiMarzio, was the first person to speak on the topic and voiced his concern on the charter.
There are one particular problem that probably can't wait for 2 years to be resolved. And that's the issue of priests being taken out of ministry because they are actually considered guilty until proven innocent. That is a real problem, especially in dioceses where we have look-back information, where we cannot even investigate because the other attorneys for the plaintiffs will not allow any investigation. So we have people who could be out of ministry for years with actually no proof of it.
Bishop DiMarzio has been a recognized leader in the protection of victim survivors. Here in the Diocese of Brooklyn, he created the Office of Victim Assistance to help individuals who come forward with allegations of abuse. The office provides counseling, referrals for therapy, and other important resources. Every employee of the Brooklyn Diocese, including students, undergoes mandatory training designed to spot the signs of abuse and how to stop it. In the Brooklyn Diocese, Bishop DiMarzio meets with survivors and listens to them carefully. One result of those talks is the annual Hope and Healing Mass. To contact the diocese's toll-free and confidential sexual abuse reporting line, dial 888-634-4499. John Lavenberg, national correspondent for the Tablet and Crux, is with the bishops in Baltimore, and he had a chance to touch base with Bishop DiMarzio following his comments. John, can you tell us a bit more about Bishop DiMarzio's concerns? He believes it's a problem that many priests are considered guilty until proven innocent.
Exactly. And, as you heard in that soundbite, he said it's urgently needed that the charter be reviewed for this reason. He said there's a problem, not in all dioceses, but there's a problem in a lot of dioceses where a priest is accused and he's removed from ministry before any of the facts come out. And that person can then be out of ministry for years and years. And then that person is then proven innocent. And that was just ministry law. So he thinks there needs to be a way to address that, to make sure that there's a way to get to the bottom of the allegation sooner.
Also today, the bishops voted on a topic that first blew up in secular media back in June, the document on the Eucharist. We just saw it pass with overwhelming approval and with very little debate. What changed among the bishops from their talks back then to now?
In June, this was still something very new. It was still a draft. There wasn't a formal outline. There wasn't much of anything for bishops to go off of. And that's part of why that conversation went the way it was. What a number of bishops have told me is that in that time, they've had regional meetings. They've given feedback to the doctrine committee that's taken those things into consideration and drafted this document. They've talked about it now in a number of private settings here, and they've come to an understanding. Something Bishop DiMarzio noted as well, when I spoke with him, that I thought was interesting. He said, the reason there wasn't a lot of comments on it is because the most controversial part, that people thought mentioned directly politicians, that was taken out of the document. So that took the controversy right out of it.
Right. And finally, the bishops held a discussion on the current synod process happening across the country. What did they have to say about it?
So this synod process that's taking place in the United States and around the world for that matter, this diocesan phase is an opportunity for bishops and priests to listen to their parishioners, to hear their concerns, things they want to see change, and really hear them out about the future and current state of the church. Most of the dioceses are at different portions of getting this going with different things they have going on in a quick rollout. And so it's an opportunity for those dioceses that are ahead of this process to talk with dioceses that may have fallen behind about things that work, and also for those dioceses that have fallen behind to ask questions and take ideas that have worked in other places.
That's great. All right, John Lavenberg, national correspondent for the Tablet and Crux. We'll check back in with you tomorrow for the final day of the meeting.
Thanks so much, Christine.
He's a defender of freedom and a champion for the First Amendment. The Diocese of Brooklyn's Bishop Nicholas DiMarzio has been presented with the prestigious Bishop John England Award, recognizing his role as publisher of the Tablet. Honored to have won the award, the Bishop of Brooklyn is a strong proponent of Catholic journalism, saying it's more important than ever in today's highly secular culture. You could read more about the award in this week's edition of the Tablet and hear from journalists who say His Excellency had their backs even when tough calls had to be made, as well as how Bishop DiMarzio fought for First Amendment rights when Brooklyn's churches were being discriminated against during the pandemic. All that and more in this week's Tablet, so pick one up. And you can also subscribe for home delivery of the paper on thetablet.org. A family and their pastor appealing for the life of their loved one. He's convicted of murder and scheduled for execution Thursday in Oklahoma. They've called on the governor to save his life. Governor Kevin Stitt saying he's praying on the case, leaving his final decision up to God. Peyton May reports from Oklahoma City.
Communication that we got was that actually the governor is in a basement somewhere investing time with our Heavenly Father in this matter relating to Julius Jones. So with that, we wouldn't want to even pull him away from that.
The Jones family and supporters say they understand how difficult of a decision it is for the governor.
This decision is going to affect the state of Oklahoma and all over our nation. And so this is one man at this particular time. Julia's life is down to 2 days in the hand of one man.
Jones was convicted of killing Paul Howell more than 20 years ago. The Howell family had the opportunity to meet with the governor to tell their story. And while the Jones family would have liked to meet with Stitt, they instead are going to pray with him.
Our plan is to be in close proximity with the governor. As he prays, we pray. As he goes, we go.
Jones's sister Antoinette is still in pain waiting.
I can say that I'm hurt because my brother is currently on death watch.
But the news that Stitt is using prayer to make his decision has also brought hope.
It was very uplifting. It was very encouraging. I know I feel better when I get ready to walk down these steps than I felt coming up these steps.
That was Peyton May reporting. Pope Francis has been clear in his opposition to the death penalty. In his 2018 encyclical, he called it, quote, an attack on the inviolability and dignity of the person, adding that it is inadmissible in all cases. The holiday shopping season is pretty much already upon us, but a lot of what we need to buy is not. Labor shortages are putting a strain on efforts to get items off cargo ships or out of warehouses and onto store shelves. Add record high inflation, and holiday shopping promises to be more difficult this year than ever before. Tom Foreman has more.
Would you like to come meet Santa?
Over 2 billion times. That's how often the words out of stock came up as researchers tracked just 18 different product categories online in October. That's worse than last year and much worse than 2 years ago. Among the hardest hit items, according to Adobe Analytics, electronics, jewelry, clothing, homewares, and pet supplies. The trend has been driven in large part by months of people sitting at home shopping online in the pandemic, and the holidays are amping it up.
The demand for the products as well as the materials to make those products is just far outpacing the available supply of those products and materials, as well as what's needed to move those products through the supply chain to the consumer.
Imported goods are especially vulnerable. Not only are manufacturers and shippers navigating a maze of periodic shutdowns, but even when their cargoes arrive, they are piling up in ports waiting to unload. Rosemary Coates is a supply chain expert.
There's a shortage of truck drivers, there's a shortage of warehouse space and workers all along that supply chain. So this is not, a snap your fingers and organize a solution.
That means for consumers, the day after Thanksgiving could be more like Bleak Friday, with some products hard to find and prices rising. Best tips, shop early. If you see what you want,
buy it now.
Buy it. Definitely buy it now.
And have faith, just like many retailers, that the holidays will wind up happy anyway.
That was Tom Foreman reporting. The experts advise to plan ahead, shop early, and whenever appropriate, consider a gift card this year. Analysts expect us to pay nearly a third more on our heating bills this winter compared to last year, as forecasters predict a slightly colder winter across the U.S. It should average out to nearly $750 per household for the season. There are a couple of things you could do to help ease the pain, like giving your furnace a tune-up to make sure it's operating efficiently. And you could save anywhere from 1% to 3% for every degree you lower your thermostat. Catholic Charities Brooklyn and Queens is helping families in need ensure some happy holiday celebrations. They're giving out 2,800 turkeys to families around Brooklyn and Queens, as well as vouchers for all the fixings. If you're in need of a turkey, it's not too late. There will be another distribution at presentation of the Blessed Virgin Mary Church in Jamaica, Queens. That'll happen this Thursday, November 18th at 10 a.m. There's a lot more news headed your way. Hate crimes are on the rise against Christians. A new report is out. We'll tell you where it's happening the most. Plus, risking their lives to save the environment. The incredible story of these defenders of the Amazon. And the emotional homecoming of a nun, where she's been and why she couldn't get home. A startling report on hate crimes against Christians in Europe has just been released, showing it's on the rise, a problem that needs to be addressed worldwide. Church arsons, assaults on priests, and robberies of Eucharistic hosts. Just some of the incidents against Christians that are happening at an alarming rate worldwide. According to a report from the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe, hate crimes against Christians are up. Nearly 1,000 incidents were reported in Europe in 2020. That's compared to around 600 in 2019. Each year, Open Doors, an organization which supports persecuted Christians in more than 60 countries, compiles the World Watch List. It's a list of the top 50 countries where Christians are most severely persecuted. One of the most surprising findings of this year's report is that the number of Christians killed for their faith is up by 60% compared to last year's reporting period. This was mainly due to the increase of armed conflicts in Nigeria and sub-Saharan Africa. On top of the list is North Korea. Christians living there are arrested and taken to work camps for possessing a Bible or when caught praying. An estimated 50 to 70,000 Christians are currently imprisoned. The rest of the top 5 countries are Afghanistan, Somalia, Libya, and Pakistan. Open Doors director explains that Christians are asked to convert to the dominant religion or face death in these countries.
More than surprising me, it pains me. It pains me very much because they are souls. They are people killed. They are widows, orphan children. They are entire towns and villages displaced and sacked. In short, there is a lot of pain around this crisis.
The primary focus of Open Doors is to provide emergency relief, contextualized Christian material in minority languages, and community development in places where Christians are deprived of basic and spiritual needs.
The main focus is to go to places where there is most hostility towards Christians and even more hostility to the gospel. We take care of small, large, isolated, or even hidden Christian communities. The heart of Open Doors is this: to tell these Christians you're not alone. We come there to you and ask what you need. We don't tell you what we think you need. This is the basis of the way we operate.
Open Doors is hopeful that with the help of interreligious efforts and collaborations with local governments and volunteers worldwide, the next reporting year will provide better results. A joyful and very long-awaited welcome home for Sister Gloria Cecilia Narvaez after spending more than 4 years in captivity. The Colombian-based nun had been serving as a mission in southern Mali near Burkina Faso when she was kidnapped by Islamic extremists. That was in February of 2017. She was finally released last month, and after meeting with Pope Francis, she's now back home. At the end of November, the 6th Ecclesial Assembly of Latin America and the Caribbean will take place in Mexico, and issues involving indigenous populations are expected to take center stage. The assembly builds on the 2019 Synod of Bishops for the Amazon and will provide indigenous people with an outlet to discuss issues and concerns within the church, like the lack of bilingual education, new forms of evangelization, and environmental stewardship. One issue in particular is the cycle of deforestation and fires that plague the Amazon. And now grassroots groups in Brazil are going to great lengths to break that cycle, putting their own lives in danger to protect the tropical habitat. Isa Suarez meets these defenders of the Amazon and shares their story.
Smoke billows above the Amazon state of Rondônia, a haze so thick it blankets this lush forest. Fires so intense that the earth is left charred. Only dust remains. It's a sight that troubles Romulo Batista. The spokesman for Greenpeace Brazil tells us 60 hectares of the Amazon have gone up in flames in 4 days. And the blame falls squarely, he says, on President Jair Bolsonaro.
A gente vê ele anunciando moratória do fogo. São medidas que já foram tomadas nos últimos 2 anos e de nada deu certo. Esse ano a gente está vendo a repetição.
From above, our cameras capture the damage of these increasing fires. The demarcated lines, a sign of human destruction at work, as the forest is cleared for agriculture or mining. Further south in the same state, Milton da Costa, a former cattle rancher, is fighting to protect what's left of the rainforest. But in doing so, he's facing attacks on his life.
Aí ele conversando comigo, o outro falando para ele, dá tiro nele logo.
Recounting vividly when he was ambushed in early September.
Eu vim só te dar um recado, o recado está dado. Então, se você não sair, não é mais recado.
As association leader of a restoration reserve in the Amazon, José Pinheiro Borges has seen this often.
É difícil saber quem ameaça, né? Ameaçador, mas a gente imagina que são infratores que exploram ilegalmente a unidade, né?
But José, along with the other Amazon defenders, could be facing a losing battle. Carbon samples from the Amazon collected over a period of 9 years by scientific researcher Luciana Gatti has shown that 20% of the Amazon is releasing more carbon than it absorbs.
This can mean the trees are dying more than growing.
The devastating impact of human behavior that experts say is tipping the climate scales in the Amazon, leaving us all, potentially, gasping for air.
That was Isa Suarez reporting. In a statement, Brazil's Ministry of the Environment says the government is allocating more money and hiring more firefighters to combat and prevent fires, bringing the ministry's budget to what it was before Bolsonaro took office. Still to come on Currents News, health issues prevented him from decking the halls, but his neighbors wouldn't let that happen. Why they turned out in droves to light up his house. Don't forget to join us later this month as we welcome Bishop Robert J. Brennan to the Diocese of Brooklyn. His installation to the Diocese of Immigrants will be held November 30th, and we'll have live coverage of the day's events starting at 10:30 in the morning. Again, that's November 30th at 10:30 a.m. right here on Net TV. The holidays sure do seem to bring out the best in folks. One Iowa man whose annual light display raises money for the hungry is unable to get the job done this year because COVID left him disabled. His neighbors, many who never even met him before, have come out in droves to let there be lights. Laura Terrell reports from Ames, Iowa.
Okay, just inside the bricks.
Perched on his front stoop, Dale Marks helps direct the crew.
And then tie it to itself. We've hooked up a lot of the lights already and got them in placement. Go give him that so he can plug that in there.
Bob Coffey leads the group of volunteers as they set up thousands of Christmas lights in Dale's Beaverdale yard.
It makes me feel good that we can do it for him, but it makes me feel sad that he's in that condition.
This is the first year Dale has to watch from the sidelines.
He got COVID and it just didn't go away. I mean, the side effects were horrendous.
Julie Marks watched her healthy husband deteriorate in front of her eyes. She says COVID caused 2 strokes and a heart attack.
I laid in the hospital for 28 days, not knowing if I was going to survive. And I knew that I needed to carry on if I at all could, if at all possible.
Where do we got power to that?
And carry on he did. Dale is determined to light up his yard again this year to raise money for the Food Bank of Iowa. As cars roll by this year, Dale will have to watch from inside. But even from a distance, the joy of helping others sparks a light inside of him.
He knows it's a blessing, and this is a time of blessings and thankfulness. So, yeah, we're going forward and we're going to raise as much money for the food bank as we can.
Love that. That was Laura Terrell reporting. If you'd like to donate to New York City's food bank this holiday season, simply log on to engage.foodbanknyc.org. And that is Currents News. I'm Christine Persichetti. Thank you for joining us because we are putting your faith in the news. Hope to see you again next time.